it's Ariel with Seattle Coffee Gear, and today we are doing a little review of a new product. It is the Shimmy from Fellow, and what it is, it's a coffee sieve. So, looks like this. Super easy to take apart. We've got our lid, and then what makes it unique is this little 200 micron etched mesh. So what it does is it essentially filters out the fines, and that's kind of what can muddy up the flavors of your coffee. So even if you have a really consistent grinder, you're always going to get fines. So this kind of just adds another layer of consistency to your cup. So this is going to be good for people who are hobbyists, and that's like all you like to do is do things like V60 or Chemex. It's also going to be good for people who are in a competitive situation. If you want something to be as consistent as possible in a competition, then this would also be something good to have as well, because it's really going to clean up those flavors. For day-to-day use, it's not really something that I would personally use day-to-day, but if I were trying to impress someone with a rare single origin, then I would definitely break this out. So there are a couple of things that you're going to want to keep in mind. You are going to want to grind just a notch finer, and you're also going to want to cut back. So they actually recommend using a 1:15 ratio. So 1 part coffee to 15 parts water, as opposed to the standard 1:17, because you're grinding finer, and you don't want to dilute those flavors. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to try it out. So we have here some of our Tony's Crew Brew. I'm just going to weigh out 16 grams. Okay. And normally for V60 you would set it on 18 for pour over, so I'm going to just adjust it a notch finer. Drop this in here and grind it. And then while that's grinding, I'm just going to calculate how many grams of water. So we're going to do 16 grams of coffee to 240 grams of water. So what you're going to do, so you've got your coffee, you're going to pour it into the shimmy. And the instructions say you want to shake it for 30 seconds, and you want to shake it like a cocktail shaker, which is why I suspect they asked me to do it. So we're going to go ahead and do that. You can also shake it like this if you want, really, just as long as you're shaking it for 30 seconds. So what happens is it gets filtered out of this top, and then it collects in this little part in the bottom. And what I'm actually going to do, because, you know, you're obviously going to lose some coffee in fines, so I'm going to actually reweigh it. So you do lose about a gram. So I actually now have 15 grams in here as opposed to the 16 that I started with. And that all just kind of collects in the bottom here. And it's pretty fine, very powdery, almost borderline Turkish in grind size. So just going to readjust my ratio here. So we're actually going to do 225 grams of water. Okay. So we're going to just make our pour over as usual, 30-second bloom. And then we'll do 3 pulses. So then we'll do our bloom, our big pour, and then let it draw down, and then we'll finish up our pour. Okay, and it is brewing faster than what you would expect, just because you've sifted all those fines out. That is another thing to keep in mind, which is why they also want you to grind a bit finer. All right, so that is done brewing. So we're just going to give it a taste and see how it did. Got our little cup here. Smells pretty good. So Crew Brew is a bit of a darker roast. It has some kind of bittersweet chocolate and jammy tasting notes. So we'll see how the shimmy did in kind of coaxing out maybe the more delicate flavors that might get lost with a less consistent grind. So there is a little bit more clarity of flavor. The body is definitely a bit lighter than what you would expect, particularly for a dark roast. But, you know, again, if this is something that you're just kind of doing day to day, you're really not going to notice. But if you're a hobbyist, this does kind of help up your game. So this would be good for like a rare single origin, or if you're in a competitive environment and you want all of your drinks to taste as consistent as possible. Again, this is going to add that extra layer of consistency. So great for that crowd, but if you're, you know, just doing kind of day-to-day coffee like drip, this would not be the best product for you, just because, you know, again, you do lose some coffee to the fines. So, you know, if you don't want to waste coffee for doing drip or anything like that, then this would not be what you would want to use. You would just want to grind as usual. Right. So that is the Fellow Shimmy. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and leave a comment below. We'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Yes.